of the press. I welcome you once more to the NBA house for this press conference. I'll make a few remarks and then you will be free to ask questions. We have decided to call this, to have this press conference in the light of recent developments and some allegations and flying around in the public domain, especially in social media. And I thought it was very important that we have this engagement with the press so as to address some of these issues. As you all know, the NBA National Officers election is scheduled to commence after midnight tonight. That is 18th of July and end by midnight on the 19th day of July. That election is to elect national officers, the 10 national officers who will take over from our current National Executive Committee on the 28th day of August 2026. It's unfortunate that our current election has been made in a lot of controversy. It is unfortunate that some lawyers and some candidates have chosen to play fast and loose with the truth and allege rigging even where the process has not commenced. If I will take you down memory lane, when we had our NEC meeting in Benin, the members of the Electoral Committee of NBA, ECMBA for short, was constituted. Now, the composition of the ECMBA was in line with the constitutional provision of the NBA, which stipulates that the National Executive Committee shall propose the members to members of our National Executive Council, and I shall ratify or approve same. And we made a proposal of the 5 members of the ECMBA, because at that time, our constitution stipulated for 5 members. And by a motion moved by Chief Richard Omar Aron Arogo SAN and seconded by Clever Oho, the then chairman of NBA Gwagwalada branch, NEC approved or ratified the proposal by the ESCO. And these 5 gentlemen were appointed members of the ESCO. And they were accordingly inaugurated. By our next NEC meeting, our constitution had been approved and registered with the CAC. And in line with the law, which provides that once the CAC approves and registers the constitution, it becomes the binding document. And that amendment had brought in 7 members. We proposed and appointed extra 2 members of the ECMBA and reported to NEC of the fact of inauguration. Without opposition yet again. I forgot to mention that the proposal and approval of the 5 members of the ECMBA by NEC in Benin in the month of November 2025 was not opposed by any person. There was no counter motion. It was a unanimous decision then. Surprisingly, some persons went to court in Ibadan, led by Ibrahim Lawal, the then chairman of NBA Ibadan, who was present at the meeting and did not oppose the composition, alleging that I, as president, merely read a list that NEC did not approve it. There is video evidence which will be made available to you by our communications officer showing the process that we made a proposal and NEC ratified it. He went to court and secured an injunction. There were 4 of them, 4 or 5 plaintiffs in that matter. Got an injunction stopping the ECMBA from operating. Now, the strange thing about that injunction was that they pleaded that there was urgency. Now, this decision was taken in November. Nobody went to court. 3 months after, he suddenly claimed urgency and got an injunction stopping the Electoral Committee from acting and alleging that I was biased. That because of that, the ECMBA should not operate. And strangely enough, too, in the second prayer granted by the court restrained me as president from convening a NEC meeting to reconstitute it. Why do I say it is strange? You said I violated the constitution and effectively also granted an injunction preventing me from correcting that mistake, assuming I made a mistake, and the court granted this order. As we were dealing with deciding what to deal with this order, which came to light on about March 6, 2026, another order was brought to our attention, ostensibly granted a week earlier, within the same period, that the ECMBA, which has been restrained from performing any function, should only accept and process the nomination of one candidate of the Egbe Amofi Odua. The contention being that since we have zoning and it's been zoned to the southwest according to them, that and they have chosen their candidate, that the other person should not be allowed to contest. Now, we have zoning in our constitution, and the zoning is among north, west, and eastern region. So it's along the pre-1963 regional structures. So north is for all the states in the north, 19 states in the north and FCT. Then west is for the southwestern states and the then midwest states of Edo and Delta. Then east is for all the southeast states and parts of the other parts of the south states, 9 states. In this particular election, because in the last 2 zoning rotation to the west, candidates from Edo won. Mr. Austin Alleg in 2014, Olumide Akpata in 2020. There was some understanding that it would not be good having taken those 2 for the Midwest to present a candidate, and their leaders prevailed on their people too, not to run. So the premise of the lawsuit is false because there is no zoning to the southwest. There is zoning to the west because constitutionally a person from Edo and Delta could run. The court granted that injunction. The court failed to take cognizance of the fact that Egbe Amofi Odua is an association on its own with his own constitution and has no right under the NBA constitution. But we felt that there was need to manage these situations. When the lawsuits were instituted and injunctions granted, I took the lawsuit processes to the Attorney General of the Federation and said, you're the official leader, call parties so that we find a settlement. We don't need to be in the courts. But the unfortunate thing is that even before the electoral committee was constituted, some persons have been going and saying the election will be rigged. I'm not quite sure that we still have Nostradamus, but they kept saying the election will be rigged. I hear people say things like everybody knows NBA election has always been rigged. All the elections that were challenged in court were dismissed. And yet a lawyer will say elections were dismissed. I need to also make a point that the same lawyers who filed the suit on behalf of Ibrahim Lawal also filed the suit on behalf of Egbe Amofi. So the 2 parties were working together for a purpose. What we're only asking for is that lawyers should be careful with the words they use. It is not in the practice of the best practice of the legal profession for any person to state facts which he knows not to be true. If courts have dismissed a matter, if you have alleged the rigging and you could not prove it and the court dismisses it, then there was no rigging in law. But what people have done is to try to create crisis where there is none. We tried to settle the matter. Unfortunately, we didn't quite reach an agreement, and we saw what was described as direction by the Attorney General. And we felt that those were not directions that could be given to us. We came for amicable settlement in law. If you sue me to court or when parties are in court and they wish to settle, they sit down and agree on the settlement, reduce it into writing and sign, and file it in court. None of the parties can give the others direction. And the Court of Appeal agreed with the public posturing of the NBA on this issue and saying that no party can give direction to the other parties, that a settlement ought to be consensual. The election is supposed to take place today. Some people are pushing for postponement. We had to call an emergency NEC meeting because people kept calling my name as if I'm a problem. And we felt, let our NEC discuss the issues and decide. Unfortunately, in the build up to it, one of our service providers was arrested, but he has been released. We don't know what may still happen, but we hope that there will be no further arrest or interference with our electoral process. We are committed to holding a free and fair election that has integrity. And it is because of this that the NBA considered to the insistence of some of the candidates, which was made without proof, that our normal electoral process, which involved sending an OTP to your email as well as your phone number, should be that the email part should not be utilized, claiming yet again without proof that the emails are compromised. And we have made that concession, and it's going to cost us millions of naira to be able to ensure that seamless, because we have to now pay to get an ID that will help us send the SMS that will have 100% success rate. Guys, there have been heavy weather about, Alpha is going to allow NIN. Let me make it clear here, sir, that by our constitution, the electoral committee is independent and does not take instruction from me. And I speak before you and before men that I have not given instruction to the CMBA. I have not been part of their procurement process. I have not been part of their work. I am as committed to every person to seeing that we have a free and fair and transparent election, so that whoever loses, we know that he or she lost, and whoever wins, we know that he or she deserves to win. But I think it is unfair to continue to malign people. People say my election was rigged. And the man who conducted that election, Shewa Abimbola, was chosen by Egbe Amofi to be their selection committee person. And I mention this because we say things without paying attention to the reputational damage it is doing to people. There's a colleague I saw on Arise TV this morning shouting my name. That gentleman is a dear friend, and I have tremendous respect for him. We may have differences on the current election, but I normally tell him something. When you supported me in 2024 and I won, and people said it was rigged, you fought them saying it was not rigged. Suddenly you're saying the elections, we know they are always rigged. I say, was mine rigged? Were you part of those who rigged me in then? I know that if we are to ask some of the presidential candidates in the forthcoming general election, they may also say they don't want the current INEC chair to conduct the election. But the fact that people may in their mind suspect that a process may be rigged does not mean it to be rigged. But let me tell you how our system works. Every lawyer has what they call a Supreme Court enrollment number. And in the NBA portal, you must impute your number. And you agree with me that all mobile operational active telephone lines in Nigeria must have a verified NIN. So by sending the OTP that allows you to vote to that number, NIN is already involved in the electoral process. But what the NBA refuses is to have an electoral process that will make you, as you log in, you put in your name, it takes you to the NIMC website or database. It verifies it. It means that NIMC controls our election. It means that they will verify who votes. And whether you like it or not, many of our female colleagues especially, who got married after being called to the bar and have had to change their names, have not gone to the Supreme Court to change their name. If we are to use that NIMC database, they will have a name mismatch and they will be unable to vote. And we cannot support any system or process that will disenfranchise our members. In as much as we are all for transparency, we want a process that is fair to all and does not place an uneven burden on people. If we had wanted NIN, we would have stipulated it in the Constitution, and at the point of imputing your data in details in our portal, we must put that. Our electoral processes have so far been fair. I was elected overwhelmingly in 2024. One of those who ran against me then claimed that some of his supporters tried to vote and discovered that their names, identities had been stolen and somebody had voted on their behalf. And we challenged them publicly to bring forth one person. 2 years after, no name has been brought. And yet people cite that as an example of rigging. It was Banksy that said that when you repeat a lie several times, it becomes politics. So we're playing politics and we understand that. But unfortunately, they appear to have a louder voice, tarnishing images people have built over the years. I don't know about people. I have never been part of a plan, participated in, aided, or condoned rigging. I have never planned it and I do not intend to. So I'm giving that people are arguing, Omar is trying to impose a candidate on the bar. And yet, there is a group of persons that says, we have endorsed one person, nobody should run against him. And we are saying, if there's a sole candidate, the person goes on to put. But if there's more than one person, we must have an election. And yet, we are the ones being accused of imposition. We want free and fair election, and to show that the allegations against us of they rigged the election is mere politics. People are repeating a lie to influence people's minds. You know what we have done? We have invited DSS to come with a technical crew, and they have appointed somebody, EFCC, ICPC, and we have invited foreign countries to bring their technical team to query our system and to monitor it. And one of those groups wrote again that the foreigners should stay away. What do they want? You accuse people, they open up their systems, and you say they should not look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all politics. And I want you to hold us accountable. Monitor this election, report on it, ask questions. But we must not allow falsehood to stand. I'm not quite sure, but I think it was also Gobert that said, when you take a bit of truth and mix it with lies and repeat it, you believe it. I think they have found themselves in that situation where they have told themselves so many lies that they now believe it. Our system is open. We invite you to be part of this process to ensure that whoever wins this election deserves to win. And I say interestingly, in every election, they single out only the president for rigging and congratulate every other person. So you rig it for only one person, and the others won. I think it's a case of sour grapes. And I'm ready to take your questions. And I thank you for coming here, for honoring our invitation to this press conference, and to say that we are trying to build up an MBA that holds a credible election, and hope that will be an example for the nation to copy, and begging our members to stop delegitimizing our process, to play clean politics and focus on the issues. There are many issues Nigerians expect the MBA to address. And part of it is not public bickering and wrong accusations of people and false accusations. Focus on the facts and let democracy thrive. Whatever interest you present at the bar, we respect it. But we only say you must allow democracy to thrive. You cannot emasculate people. You can endorse your candidate if you choose, but the others must have a right to contest. And any effort to insist that it's only the person you have chosen that will run will be stoutly resisted, where there are persons who wish to run against you. Thank you so very much. You have the right to choose. I mean, you could have chosen not to be here today, but you chose to be here. If any person chooses to boycott the election, I can't force the person to vote. But I would wish that we don't get down that road. But if any person chooses to stay away, that will be within their right. And I can't stop them, and I can't force any person to vote. But if anybody does that, that will be because he has chosen, not because there's any reason for him or her to boycott the process, because no tangible reason has been given. If you have read all that has been written or listened to all that is being said, nobody has given you any reason as to why the election should not go on, or to question the integrity of the process. And like I said, a concession was made to those who were opposing by removing email, because they claimed without proof that it is compromised. In fact, we have been told that it may cost us up to 50 million naira to ensure that we get it right in sending the bulk SMS to the phone numbers. And we are going to provide the funds just to ensure that everybody has comfort that the right thing is being done. So the MBA Constitution, under the MBA Constitution, we have fora, and NEC creates additional fora. But the other organizations that are law-based, while we recognize that they are made up of lawyers, they are not recognized under our Constitution. So you have the Christian Law Students Lawyers Fellowship of Nigeria, you have the Muslim Lawyers Association of Nigeria, you have the Eastern Bar Forum, you have a association of Christian female judges, you have all manner of associations. But officially, they are not recognized by our Constitution, because they are the ones that our Constitution has created and given NEC power to create. But they are association of lawyers, and they also, like MBA, are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission and have their own constitution governing them and their own governance culture. Interestingly, if it is an body recognized under our Constitution, any person they endorse would have been disqualified, because our Constitution stipulates that no fora, section or branch shall endorse a candidate that will lead to disqualification. So to show, because they are not created under the Constitution, whoever they endorse will be free to contest the election. So I make it clear again, I'm not involved in that, but it's a company, it's their MD that was arrested. So we have two service providers. There is the one that is providing data consultancy services, and the actual the service provider that will conduct the election. They work together, but this other person may have the data source or something related to this work. I do not know, but the one that is actually conducting the election was not was not arrested. But why we became worried is that this one was being asked questions about this other company. And there are 3 candidates. And I try to be careful. Under the NBA constitution, I have a right to vote. And if I have a right, and there are 10 persons to be voted for, I have a right to choose one for each office. So if you ask me, if assuming I insist on voting, that means I must have persons I prefer. But back to the point, assuming without considering that I have a preferred candidate, what has it got to do with the price of coffee? I'm not the one conducting the election. I have nothing to do with the process. The process is independent. And we make a heavy weather out of things that are not logical, respectfully. And if I have to take it to the national election, the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria appointed the INEC chairman, resident electoral office commissioners and electoral commissioners to conduct the election in which he will contest. I'm not contesting for any office. I'm not contesting for any office. I thought the allegation would be that Afamosi is interfering with the electoral process, he's taking decision, he's not allowing them to do anything, he's overbearing. In which case I will be called to account. Now, a body that says it is only their candidate or nobody is accusing the person of having a preferred candidate. And my saying is that I am insisting, and I spoke with their leaders and I said, if there's only one candidate, good luck. But if there's more than one, you will not stop the electoral process. And they went to court to insist that only their candidate will be, and now turning around to accuse me of trying to impose a candidate. And nobody sees the illogicality in that. The absurdity of that posturing is absurd. We're insisting on democracy. Some persons are insisting on no democracy. And I will be the victim. I have even said I'm not going to vote. At our next meeting in Meduguri, I made a statement which spin doctors turned into an unnecessary propaganda. In response to a question suggesting that I should not vote, I said, look, I've read the NBA Constitution. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that elected officers of the association cannot vote. And that on election date, that I will not be neutral, that I will vote for candidates of my choice. I didn't mention any name. Because if I'm voting, I must have candidates I'm voting for. And when you exercise your right to vote, it means absence of neutrality because you want to vote. I have now said I will no longer vote. If that will give them comfort. I will no longer vote. If that will give them comfort. And I ask again, assuming I have a preferred candidate and there are 2,000 voters, what can I possibly do? I force them to vote for somebody? Did any person get a report that I was forcing people to vote for a person or threatening them that if they didn't vote for a particular person, something will happen to them? If there's such a report, please, I would like to be confronted with it. If there's nothing other than a belief that I favor a particular candidate, then I don't think there's an issue we should waste our time on. Because there's no allegation of wrongdoing to which I should answer. Yes. So it is still in court. But then again, you can rightly infer that the judgment in it will not be the same. The court did not consolidate the 2 appeals. We challenge the competence of the High Court of Oyo State to entertain the suit because we simply believe that they are going to Oyo was forum shopping. We are here. The electoral committee operates here. You are suing us in Ibadan. And we said, no, this deals with the issue of management of a body registered under the Company and Allied Matters Act. So it is the Federal High Court that has jurisdiction, not State High Court. And the court agreed with us. And the issue, they are the same in the 2 cases. So that matter is still pending in court, but it will not end up differently. We want to have a seamless transition. And we want to also elect a president that will enjoy the respect of the Nigerian people. We should not succumb to the emotional and public blackmail by persons who believe that by denouncing the process, by simply tarring it with a blanket brush, of allegations of there will be rigging without providing any facts that justifies that allegation. It is all part of a ploy to diminish the NBA, to reduce our moral standing in the public, and rob our leadership of the moral authority to speak. We should not allow these narratives to go without being questioned. when somebody says the election will be rigged without providing details, we should take oxygen out of that empty allegation, because it's speculative and does nothing more than harm the image of the association and those who are being how do I say it, accused without even having an opportunity to defend themselves. We will ensure that this election is free and fair. We want the whole world to come and observe it and confirm the transparency of the same. Nobody should get away with wild rumor because he has been given a public platform. Thank you so very much for coming.